Then I was at the store, and I'd heard that since they had said mercury was now a supplement, that they were putting it in products, and I found a whole bunch of products where on the back it says mercury. And right there on this product, it says mercury listed as one of the minerals when it's a heavy metal. And I found a lot of products doing this. And they have said, and I've heard Dr. Dean Adele, who's their spokesman on radio, he says, we've interviewed him, that vitamins are bad for you. You can hear him any weekday saying it, saying that we all need to not take them and that people are crazy. So this is the universe inverted into pure insanity. And Codex Alimentarius, it's just another power grab, like private groups wanting to pass a carbon tax, saying carbon dioxide's bad when that's what plants breathe. We use oxygen, they use carbon dioxide, they put off oxygen, we breathe it, we put off carbon dioxide, they then absorb that. That's the carbon cycle, the life cycle. And it's the boldness, and they're taking over the banking right now, they're taking over the local police right now, they're taking over the healthcare right now to carry out eugenics, they're taking over the vitamins and the food, they're openly announcing they may shut down the web during emergencies. That's Associated Press today. They really are moving, and they're forcibly inoculating school children nationwide. And when kids drop on the ground, have convulsions, they say, that's the only time it makes it in the news, and they say, ooh, we made a mistake. This is a short segment going back to General Stubblebine and then back to Dr. Laibow, who's there to continue with the vaccines. But to go over all of this, General, the overarching program we're witnessing here, the takeover by the globalists at every front, their plan to depopulate. Can you give us your wide spectrum analysis of what we're facing? Because the evidence is, and the on the ground intelligence is, and the dots are popping out clearly to where it's a crystal clear 3D image now, that they're making their big move. They've launched their world government. They're announcing it. They're announcing one-child policies. They're announcing extermination. What would you call this in military terms as a major general when they just start bombarding us on every front, a bum rush? Is this an attempt to overwhelm? What's happening?
Well, certainly, if you think about it in terms of the principles of war, one of those principles is called surprise. And so suddenly, here they are, hitting you from all sides, and you're not sure which way you need to duck in order to not get hit. The second thing that, or another one of the principles of war, is called mass. And so, and what that means is you put all of your force on the weakest part of the enemy's force. And so, what are they doing? They're hitting you from every single solitary direction with a mass of different kinds of things. And how do you then expect to fight back? You have trouble because you're ducking from every different direction, and you're trying to cover yourself in one, and you're getting hit from another direction.
And so, General, as you just said, they're targeting the weakest, the doctors, the nurses, the people being threatened with their jobs, the school children. They, in all 50 states, we're getting reports, are forcibly inoculating. In plain view, the first vaccine is the live nasal. The insert admits that will then breed it, incubate it to spread the real influenza outbreak. In military terminology, what is it when they just operate flagrantly in plain view as well?
Well,
how about tyranny?
Yeah, tyranny. Well, you know, when you have all of the cards, or you think you have all of the cards, you can do that. You can do a frontal assault. The Soviets used to try it, and or used to practice it in great length all of the time. I can remember as a young lieutenant in Germany, where the Soviets would put their entire army on the line and in a huge mass and move right up to the border.
Everything we said came true. Everything we've done has been right.
We're going to be talking about what's happening with the flu shots, what they believe from their research is behind it, And we're also going to get into these deaths from different flu vaccine trials in Europe, also deaths now in the U.S. and a lot of illnesses that are confirmed. The FDA admits, oh, that's normal that some people will die or have convulsions. We're going to be discussing all that and what the overall master plan is and how to fight back against it, and your calls next hour. healthfreedomusa.org. Incredible information on that site. They also take action against Codex Alimentarius. They take action against the vaccines. They have solutions to fight back, and they've been instrumental in stopping a lot of enemy operations. And this is an enemy, an adversary. The globalists admit that they're using fake environmentalism and the global system to enslave the world population. Going back to Dr. Rima Laibow and Major General Stubblebine, Doctor, you were mentioning that you had the answer of the company. I have over 100 articles, but only 20 or so, maybe more, in British news, and Bloomberg reported on it here, but that was it in the U.S. that I know of, where they arrested the Polish doctors and nurses. They've charged them with taking money from an unnamed pharmacological company to tell the homeless people that it was a regular flu shot, and then it killed them. And it turned out this happened in other countries, but only Poland prosecuted. How can the doctors be prosecuted for giving the shot and being paid to do it and lying? But how is the company, and I haven't seen that in the news, how do you know it's Norvitis? I mean, I'm not doubting you, but enlighten us.
Well, we know very well that information disappears after it's put out and people begin accessing it. In the very early days of this story, quite some number of months ago, and by the way, 11 people died immediately, and then when the rest of the people who became very ill suddenly were taken to the hospital, at least 21 of them died. And this was in a very small population of people, about 300 people. So we're talking about a humongous death rate.
No, you're right. It says at one center, 350 were given it, 21 died at the hospital, and 11 others before that. So that's right. 32.
So, that's right. That's a huge death rate, and we don't know how many other people died longer term. Well, in the very early days of this story, it was made clear that it was the Novartis vaccine, the very same Novartis vaccine, by the way, that the United States was stockpiling. And so once that information began to be circulated widely, the name of the company disappeared.
All right, let me ask you this then. If Bayer Pharmaceutical, with over 1 million ampules of Factor VIII, convicted in court, France indicted the officials, nobody else did in Australia, the U.S., and other countries, it came out in court, MSNBC's even reported, as you know, but for the audience, that they knowingly put AIDS, HIV, and hepatitis in it. They didn't just let it go out over a decade. If you or I got caught giving 1 million people HIV or hepatitis, we'd go to the electric chair or lethal injection. When they do it, they get government contracts and are called our saviors. Doctor, I want your comment on how they get away with this, and then I want General Stubblebine's breakdown on the overall master plan, what we're facing here.
My comment is that the way they do it is by the deepest, most extraordinarily enormous level of corruption. We like to think of other countries around the world as corrupt. We like to point our fingers at countries like Thailand and Indonesia and African countries and say, look how corrupt they are, not realizing that the most profound corruption is around the pharmaceutical and food industries, which are being used in these incredibly inhuman ways, coldly and calculatingly, to make us ill and to kill us. We know, by the way, tomorrow, Thursday, the Natural Solutions Foundation Stop the Shot lawsuit will be heard in Washington, D.C. We are suing the FDA to prevent them from releasing any more of their untested, unsafe, uninsurable, unnecessary H1N1 vaccines. And what we have is a worldwide amassment of data about how dangerous these vaccines are from the people people who are dropping dead, the people in Germany who are collapsing and dying from the pandemics shots, and pandemics is one of the vaccines that the FDA has illegally approved. I thought I would take a moment, Alex, to read you what GlaxoSmithKline admits to the side effects being and the numbers of the side effects that they anticipate in their squalene adjuvanted H1N1 vaccine, which was just approved illegally by the United States.
Absolutely. I want to do that. And I also want to point out that the mainstream media in public schools, in colleges, and in government facilities is handing out a federally written fact sheet that says there is no mercury. Paul Watson's written an article about this, linking to it at prisonplanet.com. There is no mercury. It cannot cause neurological disorders. It cannot cause Guillain-Barré